I wanted to just talk about the signs that your inner critic could be running the show. And so, the inner critic is that part of you that is always criticizing you or always showing you your flaws. And so when I think about the inner critic, I think about that time and those times when, I'm feeling unworthy. And so my inner critic will say something like, "Who are you to be doing this thing?" Whatever it is. For me, I sometimes I have that inner critic that says, "Who are you to say that you're wealthy and to do things that wealthy people do?" That's my inner critic. There's lots of inner critics that most of us have. All of us actually have it. And the thing of it is you can either let your inner critic run the show, or you can decide to shut that bitch up. You know what I mean? It's like, no. And what I do is I just say, "Hey, you are not running the show." I tell my inner critic that. "You are not running the show. I am worthy. I can do this thing." And so this is one of the things and the ways that your inner critic will come at you. It'll tell you that, you don't have enough education. Who are you to do this thing? Who are you to create this business? Who are you to create this product? Who are you to live this life? Your inner critic will be talking to you. And so a lot of times what we do is we allow our inner critic to speak to us and to make us feel certain kinds of ways. But you can shut your inner critic down. And I would advise you to shut your inner critic down whenever you hear that. I am standing out on the ocean or on a portion by the water. I don't know if it's the ocean or if it's like a lake leading in or what it is, but all I know is it's beautiful. The weather is so nice here where I am. I'm in on the Washington coast. And but you can either allow your inner critic to run rampant and ruin your life, or you can shut that thing up. You can say, "No, this is not, what we're doing." You can say, "This is not what we're doing." Yes, I am. You peed in the water? It's so much water, it don't make a difference. You probably wouldn't even know. But yeah, it's one of those things. So you can decide to, let that inner critic ruin your life and stop you and block you from doing the things that you know that you want to do or that you feel called to do, because that's what we do. You know that you have a destiny. You know that there are things that you want to do in your life. There are places that you want to go. But you allow your inner critic to stop you by saying things like, maybe people like me don't do this. They used to tell us years ago that people that look like me didn't ski. But I know that people that look like me do ski. You know what I'm saying? And I never would have let that stop me from skiing if that's something that I wanted to do. And I was just using that as an example because I know that a lot of people will do that. They'll say, "Oh, you know what? Nobody in my family ever went to college." Let's use that as an example because that's a big one. Nobody in my family ever went to college. We use these things as examples, and we know that just because nobody has done it in your family doesn't mean that you are not being called to do it. That's the thing. That is the thing. So you can either allow your inner critic to stop you and block you from doing the things that you do. Somebody said to me the other day, said, "Oh, I don't get on the plane." And I thought to myself, but when you say stuff like that, and you know what, I understand it, but you limit yourself. Because if you don't get on the plane, then there are a lot of places you can't go because you're not going to be able to, get on a train everywhere or a boat everywhere to go everywhere, or you might need to go quickly. You can do all those things, but it might take you 5 days on the train as opposed to 6 hours on a plane. And I just use that as an example because that is an example of, something that could possibly have been related to a trauma, you know, or possibly somebody that got on a plane and died, and so you allow that kind of thing to come inside and stop you. Or my father used to say he wasn't getting on a boat because he couldn't swallow that much water. Now, his was based on a trauma of him almost drowning as a child. Now, a lot of us have almost drowned as children, you know, but maybe it didn't affect you in that way. Maybe it didn't affect you in the way that you say, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna get in the water. I'm not gonna get on a boat. All of that. Now he has since changed that since he went on a cruise, and now he's loving cruises. But that's an example of allowing that inner critic to stop you because you say, oh, you know what, I almost drowned when I was 5 or 7 or whatever it is, but now I'm 65 or 70 or whatever 50. You know, it's time to shift that. It's time to stop allowing that inner critic to stop you and block you from living the life that you are meant to live. So I hope this was helpful today. Again, my name is Tammy Morrison. If you just popped in, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you love this content, I appreciate it. Love it if you would help me by watching some videos so I can monetize on this platform. Also, make sure that you check out my Amazon links in the description. I am an affiliate, so I do get a small commission. I would love it if you would check that out, help a creator out. Also, look at my Stand store and think about joining my membership because my membership is fire. I'm looking for founding members at this time. Remember who the fuck you are. We're going to talk about all of that. I'm going to help you to remember who the fuck you are, including, your gifts, all of the things. And we're going to have community, and I'm so excited about it. 2 Zoom calls a month, $25 a month, founding members. That is what I'm looking for, and that will be your price for as long as you decide to remain a member. So come and join us. I am so excited about that. So check out the link in my Stand store. It should be in the description as well, but I know that it is in the Stand store because that's where it is. And in the Stand store, you will find all kinds of resources, some paid resources, some free resources. I tried to have enough in there so that it would help you, especially if you are on your spiritual journey and you are stepping into your gifts. I have some PDFs in there to help you to magnify those gifts and to connect with your magic. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope your day is magical. I'll be back probably tomorrow. Bye.